Welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving headfirst into the churning, unpredictable waters of American politics. President Biden, in a move that surprised absolutely no one, has officially offered his endorsement to Vice President Kamala Harris for the upcoming presidential election. But something's missing. Someone's missing, in fact, and that someone is former President Barack Obama. This conspicuous silence from Obama has set tongues wagging and fueled endless speculation. Is this a deliberate snub, a calculated move, or is there something more nuanced at play? We're going to unpack this whole situation, and we're going to do it by arming you with 10 essential political idioms.
Let's start with the word of the day, endorsement. It's not just about slapping a name on a bumper sticker. In the world of politics, an endorsement carries weight. It's a signal of support, a stamp of approval from a figure of influence. Biden's endorsement of Harris is a clear attempt to continue his policies. But here's the catch: endorsements cut both ways. While they can provide a much-needed boost, they can also backfire. A high-profile endorsement can alienate certain voters or even be seen as an attempt to control the narrative. Obama's silence speaks volumes. Is he withholding his endorsement to avoid alienating potential voters who might see Harris as too far left, too flaky? Or is he simply giving her space to define herself as a leader, separate from the Biden administration? In this game of political chess, his endorsement could be the queen.
Now, let's talk about the fence sitters. These are the folks who haven't quite made up their minds. They're the undecided voters, the ones who could swing an election. And in this political climate, believe me, there are a lot of them. Fence sitters are notoriously difficult to pin down. They're the ones who read every poll, watch every debate, and still haven't picked a side. They're waiting for that one issue, that one moment, to tip the scales. And what might that be in this election? Well, it could be Obama's endorsement. The point is, these fence-sitters are holding their cards close to their chest. They're listening, they're watching, and they're waiting for a reason to believe. Because in a race this close, every single vote counts.
Let's be honest, folks, politics can get messy. And when things go wrong, the blame game begins. We call this finger-pointing, and it's as predictable as it is unproductive. Remember that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan? The finger-pointing went on for weeks. Republicans blamed Biden for the chaotic execution, while Democrats pointed fingers at the previous administration for negotiating the deal in the first place. The truth, as always, is far more complicated. But in the heat of the moment, when the pressure is on, it's easier to point fingers than to take responsibility. While finger-pointing might score political points in the short term, it does nothing to address the underlying issues. When we're so busy blaming each other, we forget to work together to find solutions. The American people deserve better than that.
Chapter 4. Towing the Line. The Delicate Balance of Party Loyalty. Ah, party loyalty. It's the glue that holds political parties together. It's also, sometimes, a straitjacket. When we talk about following the party line, we're talking about that unspoken pressure to conform, to support the party's position, even when you might have your doubts. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with party loyalty. In fact, it's essential for a functioning democracy. But it becomes a problem when it stifles debate, when it prevents politicians from speaking their minds and representing their constituents. Take the Affordable Care Act, for example. When it was first introduced, many Democrats had reservations about certain aspects of the bill. But in the interest of party unity, most of them fell in line and voted for it. In today's hyper-partisan environment, it's more relevant than ever.
Chapter 5. A fork in the road, navigating critical political decisions. We've all been there, standing at a crossroads, faced with a choice that could change everything. In politics, we call this a fork in the road. It's that moment when a decision has to be made, a path chosen, and there's no turning back. Biden's endorsement of Harris, that's a fork in the road for the Democratic Party. It's a clear signal that he believes she's the best person to lead the party into the future. What if this endorsement alienates progressive voters who feel Harris isn't progressive enough? What if it backfires and actually hurts her chances of winning the election? Because in politics, as in life, the only guarantee is that there are no guarantees.
Chapter 6. Gaslighting, the dangerous distortion of reality in politics. This next one is a heavy one, folks. Gaslighting. It's a term we've been hearing a lot lately, and for good reason. It's an insidious form of manipulation, one that aims to make you question your own sanity, your own perception of reality. In politics, gaslighting takes many forms. Harris is gaslighting when she speaks of success at the border and her other accomplishments as VP. She has been mostly hidden in the background. The goal is always the same: to undermine your trust in your own judgment, to make you rely on the gaslighter for information and validation. It's a dangerous tactic, one that erodes trust and undermines democracy. So, how do we fight back against gaslighting? By trusting our instincts, seeking out reliable sources of information, and calling out lies and distortions when we see them.
Chapter 7. Picture this: a tightrope walker balancing precariously above a sea of faces. One wrong step, one gust of wind, and it's all over. That's what it means to be hanging in the balance. It's that state of uncertainty, of precariousness, where the outcome is far from certain. Right now, Kamala Harris's political future is hanging in the balance. She's facing low approval ratings, a divided party, and a tough field of potential challengers and her past record. One misstep, one major scandal, and her campaign could be over before it even begins. Entire policies, even the fate of nations, can hang in the balance. Those are the high-stakes moments when everything is on the line, when the future feels terrifyingly uncertain.
Let's be honest. Sometimes the political landscape can feel overwhelming. There are so many issues, so many conflicting opinions, that it's tempting to just tune it all out, to bury our heads in the sand and pretend it's not happening. But here's the thing: ignorance is not bliss. In fact, it's dangerous. When we choose to ignore what's happening in the world, we give up our power to shape it. We become complicit in the very things we claim to oppose. Think about the climate crisis. For years, many politicians denied that it was even happening. They buried their heads in the sand, ignoring the overwhelming scientific consensus. And now, we're facing the consequences of their inaction. So keep your head up, stay informed, and never be afraid to speak truth to power.
There's a certain irony to the term lame duck. It's used to describe a politician who's nearing the end of their term, someone who's still in office but whose power is waning. They're still there, but they're not quite as impactful. Think of a duck with a hurt wing. It's still a duck, it can still swim, but it's not going to be winning any races anytime soon. That's a lame duck politician. They're still in office, they can still cast votes, but their influence is diminished. Why? Because everyone knows they're on their way out. Their political capital is spent. Their ability to shape the agenda is limited. And as your successor waits in the wings, you're left to grapple with the legacy you'll leave behind.
In the world of politics, information is power. But you know what else is power? Leverage. It's that intangible something that allows you to influence people, to get them to do what you want. It's the art of persuasion, of negotiation, of knowing when to hold 'em and when to fold 'em. Leverage can take many forms. It could be money, connections, or even just a really good secret. It's about having something that someone else wants, something that gives you an advantage in any negotiation. Think about lobbyists. They trade in leverage. They use their connections, their knowledge of the legislative process to influence lawmakers. They understand that it's not always about what you know, but who you know and what you can offer. Because at the end of the day, that's what leverage is all about, using whatever tools you have at your disposal to create change.
So there you have it, 10 essential political idioms that will have you decoding political doublespeak like a pro. Because let's face it, Politics can feel like a whole different language sometimes, but understanding these idioms can help you see through the spin, the rhetoric, and the outright lies. The more you understand about how the game is played, the better equipped you'll be to navigate it. So stay informed, stay engaged, and never underestimate the power of your own voice.